You don't want your hair just cut or styled. Get your hair designed at Roots Hair Design, 5459 Molly Pitcher Highway in Chambersburg, 717-375-2130. How about a women's cut? $32, $35, or $38? Guys, you're not going to get a better price on the cut you're going to receive at Roots Hair Design than $23. Now, if you have a teenager, girl or boy, $25 and $20 respectively. A kid's cut, just $18. Maybe you need your roots touched up. They have that as well. And they can do your nails, take care of your lashes, facial treatments, waxings, and what I plan to get is a massage. Roots Hair Design, 5459 Molly Pitcher Highway in Chambersburg. $10 off your first service to any new guests, and they're approaching their 12th year in business. You don't last that long if you're not doing something, or in their case, a lot of things right. Roots Hair Design, we can't thank them enough for being part of the Tiny and Katy Show.
It's the Tiny and Katy Show.
Powered by Roots Hair Design in Marion.
Sorry, Tiny.
Oh,
sorry.
my God. So it starts again. This is totally making the cut here.
Sorry.
So I got Katy this backdrop for Christmas. It was a Christmas gift / something we needed for the sake of the show, hoping that she would have used this thing by now. And we were just talking about it. I said, "Are you using it?" She goes, "No, I haven't assembled it yet," which is evident by the fact that she is trying her darndest right now to get this thing set up on the old way of doing it. Oh my God, really?
I'm so sorry. I was doing so well.
You know that this will be completely alleviated if you just use the new one.
I know. But listen, someone's been world traveling. Like, I haven't had time. Things are happening, Tiny. Things are happening. All right.
Okay,
I think
so
we are.
Katy is back from Francais.
Bonjour. Parlez-vous français? Oui, oui.
Oui. So this podcast, as it should be, is going to be completely dedicated to Katy's adventures in Paris. So, Katy, just take us through this. I can't wait. By the way, it's Tiny and Katy Show. We're so glad to have you all, powered by Roots Hair Design, Route 11 in Marion.
All right. Now, I apologize in advance if you are watching. I'm just going to keep my arm up here. Like, I'm just going to keep it right here. So,
like
okay.
the Eiffel, like Lady Liberty,
Eiffel
the Statue
Tower,
of Liberty,
yes.
the Statue of Liberty, who was
Yes.
gifted to us by France.
France,
So-
exactly. So I'm just like really feeling my French like roots right now. Like that's what's
Obviously.
happening at this moment. Yeah. So I went to France. I made it back, by the way, like almost seamlessly. The way home was amazing. But so I don't have too many like wild and crazy stories to tell, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
It was a relatively tame trip, but we did a lot. It was very jam-packed. So when I got to France on Thursday, I ended up getting into Paris at like 7:00 in the morning. The people that I was traveling with, they didn't arrive until about 2 in the afternoon. So I had all day to kill. Apparently, the day that I arrived, hang on a second. This is just not going to work.
Just get it set up.
Okay.
Just do it. I tell you, folks, this is what you do on a shoestring budget. It's going to happen again. It's
So-
totally going to happen again.
The day that I arrived, apparently France is trying to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64. And because of this, there was all this protesting and all these places shut down. Transportation stopped running. The Eiffel Tower was not running. So I couldn't tour the Eiffel Tower. Like the one day I was there, everything was shut down.
So let me ask you this. Did you know that's what they
No.
were protesting?
I did not know that. So what happened was when I met this really nice American when I was in line for customs, and he was from North Carolina, and we were just talking about, our trip or whatever. And he was saying to me, how difficult of a time I was going to have getting a taxi. Now I'm by myself at this point. So immediately starting to panic, like, oh, here I am alone and I can't get a taxi. And he said, well, if you want, I will split a taxi with you, which I thought was very nice. And he said, I've been here a million times. I know where to go to get a taxi. And he did. He took me right to this area. There was a guy who came up and said, do you want a taxi? And we said, yes. And he said, it's going to cost you 150 euro. I guess this taxi ride is normally about 30 to 40, but because of the strike, it cost 150.
Wow.
Now, this
'Cause
guy,
he was one of the only games in town.
correct, exactly. So they could charge whatever they wanted. And so I thought, well, I have no other choice. We have to take this taxi. So we ended up splitting the taxi, going into Paris, and he paid for it. He paid for the entire taxi ride. And he just said, I hope one day you pay it forward for somebody else. He said, I think about if my wife were here alone, I would want someone
Yes.
to take care of her and make sure she was safe. And so he kind of took on that role for me, which I thought was amazing. So he got off at his hotel, and then the taxi driver was super nice. He actually paid the taxi driver to drive me around a little bit to show me the city and then drop me off at the Eiffel Tower. So I
This
ended
guy
up
was
having legit, super nice guy. And he was a neuro physicist and worked for some big company that's out there. And it just
Did he finally perform your much needed brain surgery?
Well, I asked him, I said, well, can I talk to you about Chernobyl? And he said, you can talk to me about Chernobyl because I'm so fascinated by it, but nobody has been able to put it into terms that I like fully understand. It's just a concept that's just above me. I can't. And he tried, and I nodded, of course. But I had no idea what the hell he was talking about. I just was like, oh, this guy's giving me a free taxi ride, so I'm going to entertain him.
So
as
wait
much
a minute.
As I can.
He asked you if you wanted to hear about Chernobyl, or you asked him?
I asked him. When he said nuclear physicist, I said, oh, do you know a lot about Chernobyl? Because I think it's a fascinating story. And he said, I know more about 3 Mile Island, which I think are similar in the meltdown. So
not to mention closer to where you were born,
right?
3 Mile Island.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I was talking to him about the Limerick power plants and whatever. That's not an important part of the story. So the very nice taxi driver drove me around Paris, was pointing out all these places, was telling me where I should walk because I had my luggage and I was by myself for the next, 6 hours to just kill. And I was in a strange city. I didn't know what to do. So he dropped me off at the Eiffel Tower. It was closed. So I just walked around it, took pictures. And then I walked across the street. There is this really, really beautiful monument museum. I'm not sure exactly what it was. It wasn't open, but I walked around there. And then I walked along the river. And then I found, it's like what you see in a movie. There are cafes everywhere. Everywhere there's a cafe.
Yeah.
So I found a cafe, and in Europe, you don't, ask to be seated. You just sit. And so I just sat down at a table, and I had a couple glasses of wine. I wasn't sure what to even order. So and most of the people speak English there. The really nice man who waited on me his English was excellent. So he recommended some wine for me. I had a crepe, ate some olives, had this beautiful view of the Eiffel Tower. Then I walked around a little bit more, and then eventually our room was ready at the hotel. So then I walked to the hotel.
Time out. When he handed you your food, did you say, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be crepey about this, but
no.
I really need to know where to go?
No, I did not. I did not even try to pun with the French. I wasn't even about to enter that territory.
From what I understand, puns are pretty much an American thing.
Yeah. Did I tell you when I went to Morocco, I kept punning and they just could not understand the concept of puns? You have to really understand the English language to understand puns, and they just, it's a lot. So anyway, eventually the hotel room was ready. I met up with my friends. Now, the people that I went with, it was my dear friend Sydney, who I know and very well from work, and 2 of her friends from high school who I'd never met before. These really, really cute, attractive young men. They're like 24, 25 years old.
Wait a minute. I didn't go with you.
Well, you're also not handsome and cute, and be 25. So
okay, fine. Fair enough.
Did not pertain to you at all. So we were just kind of getting to know each other a little bit, but immediately they were saying things that were inappropriate, offensive, and swearing. So I was like, yep.
And to you, endearing.
And I was like, these are my people. We're going to have no problem getting along. And the first thing, also when I was walking around, almost the first thing I did was buy a beret, like a total American tourist.
Absolutely.
Total American tourist. Wore said beret, white beret, all around Paris. I looked like a chef. Like I looked like a straight up chef in a chef's hat. I cannot pull off a beret, but I don't care. I bought one in France. I just felt like I needed to do it. So we head down to the Eiffel Tower. We were bebopping around, drinking wine, eating cheese and bread and all this charcuterie. And then we head down to the Eiffel Tower, and at night the Eiffel Tower lights up. Like every hour or so there's a light show, and so you can bring a picnic and sit on the lawn. And so we did that for a couple hours and drank some wine, and then hit some bars, restaurants, and had a really great night. And then the next morning,
I just want to interject these questions while I'm thinking about it. So how does the quote unquote nightlife there compare to what we would be used to here?
It depends on if you're talking about a big city. I guess it's pretty similar. I mean,
so you said you hit a couple bars.
Yes.
So I know what I have in my mind, having done that with you. Is it the same type of thing over there?
Well, we sat outside almost the entire time. So we would just go to a cafe, sit outside, and drink a bottle of wine. We weren't like clubbing or, it was more fancy. It was a little more classier than just hitting some bars. We were outside eating bread, cheese, charcuterie, drinking bottles of wine. It was a little more upscale.
So was the food better there than it would have been? It was a good food?
Yes, the food was amazing. The food was fantastic. It's all very fresh, the ingredient. There's not a lot of things that are processed. And the whole experience of going out to eat in Europe is very different than in America. Here, we're very go, go, go. I want my meal quick, check, let's go, let's go. There's an experience. Like Europeans really view going out to eat as more of an experience. You're sitting with a family member or a friend. You're there to have conversation with that person. It's not to be on your phone. It's not to be quick. They won't give you your check. You have to ask for it. And even when you ask for it, there is no urgency to get you your check. You really just wait, sit, take your time. It's supposed to be an experience.
Come on. Chop, chop.
No. And even when you ask for your check, maybe 20 minutes later you get it. So you can't go out to eat in a hurry.
Do they how are they on tipping, things like that?
You don't tip. I mean,
okay.
you really don't. So if our bill was maybe €28, we would leave 30. So you just leave a little bit, but they pay their wait staff very well, and the wait staff takes a lot of pride in their job. So it's actually rude to tip a lot because they get paid well, and it's
a profession over there.
Correct.
As opposed to an entry-level job here.
Correct. Yep.
Right.
Exactly. And so eating out is just, the dining experience is very different in and of itself. You go in, you sit down, you don't ask to be sat. You need to understand that you are going to be waiting for a while. It's going to be an experience. People aren't really, it's just more of a leisurely thing, which I really enjoy, except for a few times when we were kind of on a time constraint and it took forever to get out of there. But then we got up the next day and we drove to Marceau, which is about 3 hours outside of Paris. The Paris traffic is horrific. I've never seen traffic like it. It is unbelievable. Marceau is this absolute fairy tale town. It reminded me of like Harry Potter. All of the buildings are 200-300 years old.
Wow.
There is no Walmart, there's no Home Depot, there's nothing. I mean, it's a couple miles of just wineries. Oh my gosh, there are grapes everywhere. All these enormous castles have their backyards are fenced in with a vineyard. Their vineyards.
I gotta be honest with you, it sounds grape.
It's
it sounds like it was a fine time.
I wasn't whining about it at all. I definitely was not whining about it whatsoever. So it was just kind of like walking around and taking it all in. I felt like I just went back in time.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Yep. I'm sure you did.
It really, but that's more my speed. That's definitely more
me
my
too.
speed than Paris. Paris was fun, and don't get me wrong, but this was like super quiet. It's very quiet and it's very quaint. And you go to the local bakery where every day everything is made fresh, and you get fresh
and everyone
baguettes,
goes there every day and gets their bread.
Does. Yep. And you walk everywhere. And so we walked around and we just explored. And then the next day was when we did all the wine tastings. And because Burgundy, France is known for their wines, and they primarily grow two grapes. It's Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. So 99% of what you're drinking is one of those two grapes. It's just so uncanny how the wine tastes so different, literally based off of one row of grapes to the next row of grapes. Just one to the next makes the wine taste so different. So it was really, if you have an appreciation for wine and you like it, it's really interesting to learn about that. How was
it? Was it good wine?
Oh my God, it was amazing. It was amazing wine. Like, this wine tastes different because it was up on this slight elevation, or this, uphill. This wine tastes different because there's more wind that comes in this direction. It was just literally from one row to the next, the wine just tastes different. But it was fantastic.
I love doing wine tastings. I want to do one again very soon with you, and then Mary loves to do them as well. I love things like that. I love that, just little quirky little nuggets of oh, by the way, this blah blah blah, like you just described. That would fascinate me more than anything.
it is really incredible to learn about winemaking and how, this wine was in neutral oak or was in French oak or was in this oak and it spent this long in this and blah, blah, blah. There's so much science that goes into it. And it is such a art. And
Yeah.
you really have to know. They were saying that for harvest, that harvest can be kind of overwhelming because people they don't own huge plots of land. They own rows of grapes. So let's say I own row 1, 2, 3. You own row 4, 5, 6. Someone else is 7, 8, 9. Well, everybody's harvesting at the same time, bringing in all their equipment, and it's a fight to try to get a spot. It's a huge hassle. People are just parking all over the place. They're harvesting the wrong rows of grapes. Like, it was just so fascinating because that's the main thing in that town is wine. And it is wine country USA or France. Wine country,
right.
France.
Well, so one could say, so if they're harvesting like the wrong rows, so if you're somebody who owns that row and this guy or girl or woman is coming into your lane and they're getting your grapes, I mean, I would imagine that it can really quickly become the grapes of wrath. Really.
I was wondering where you were going with that. But when we did the one tasting, she was explaining to us how during harvest, it lasts like 5 or 6 days. The winemakers know to the day that they're going to harvest. They'll know. They'll wake up and just say, today is the day we're harvesting. And the town basically shuts down. And all these people come in from out of town to help harvest because there's so much machinery and there's so many trucks and it's all hands on deck for 6, 7 days. And that's all the town does. And so I asked her, I said, could I come and help oh my God, are you kidding me? I would love to go to France and help harvest in Burgundy.
Yeah, I bet that'd be an experience.
Absolutely. And she said, well, we have one requirement. You have to be able to drive a stick and be comfortable driving a box truck. And I'm not comfortable with either. And I said, well, I can cheer on everybody as they're driving a stick box truck.
Yeah, you get those grapes.
I love it.
That's a cluster if ever I've seen one.
She said, we are happy to have anybody if you can drive a stick and you're comfortable driving a box truck. Which
Katie would be like, hey, boys, I got some grapes for you.
Oh, hey.
Feeling mighty fine. Woo.
Oh, you're really on fire today.
Yeah.
So we did some wine tastings. The wine was fantastic. It was the information that we received was just so interesting. It was so interesting. And then we, had some really great food. We were exploring the different towns. There's a town near Marceau called Beaune. That's more of the centralized location. And so, I mean, just out of a movie, these places are just unbelievable and just quiet. I think that's what got me was I was like, my God, it is so freaking quiet here. So I come in and it's like, oh, well, there's Americans. There's those damn Americans.
And probably someone's giving a tour. Meanwhile, Katie's over there doing her thing, and she's telling people now, you probably noticed that this place is very, very quiet and quaint. We pride ourselves on not a lot of noise. And then it's Katie. Woo! France, woo!
I was definitely told, like, Katie, we love you for who you are, but you've got to tone it down. Like, and you know what? When you walk into that environment, I knew I had to. I walked in, I was like, okay, I have got to.
Well, it's kind of like walking into a church.
Yeah.
I mean, like.
Very good comparison. Great comparison.
Okay. This is not necessarily here's the place.
Right. And so we did wine tasting that day. We walked out of town, went up to this like abandoned, I don't know, house and had we watched the sunset, drank a bottle of wine. I mean, it was just freaking magical. And then the next day we drove to Switzerland. Now Katie Dickinson, drove over the Swiss border. And so I drove in France and I drove in Switzerland and we went to Lake Geneva and we went to another town. It looked like Louisiana, but it was like Louisiana or something like that. We went to those two towns. Super, super cute. We could see the Alps, not as close as I would have hoped, but you can definitely see the Alps in the background, which is incredible.
Yeah.
And Geneva was really
Did you hear the Ricola guy?
I did not. I mean,
Did you do the Ricola thing? I mean, do you kind of have
nope,
to?
no, nobody did the Ricola.
The
I
first
did
thing I would do, like Ricola.
not one person did that, but
I
I
would.
did eat the
I'm sorry. Whatever.
I did eat the chocolate, and it was fantastic.
Isn't there one of the main brands is over there,
Mhm.
right? What
Well,
it,
I mean, Switzerland is known for their chocolate,
right, but
and it
one of
was
the ones we have over here that's really popular, like they're headquartered over there. It's at Ferrero, not Ferrero Rocher. It's all Lindt. It's Lindt. LINDT. That's the big one, I think. Anyway,
Wow.
so take me through
Probably so.
the chocolate. I love to hear about
Anyway,
chocolate.
no, I mean that's kind of it. We were in Geneva, we were in Louisiana or Louisiana, whatever it was called.
We're in
And-
New Orleans. We're at the French Quarter.
Yeah. Then we went to New Orleans, so we really went out of town. But walked around, experienced it, ate some food, drank some wine, had some chocolate. Then
I got my shirt.
I did not get you a shirt. I did
What?
not get you. Yeah, I do apologize. I did not. I had barely any room in my carry-on for the things that I brought. So
Mhm.
literally, I brought like three things back
Yeah.
with me.
I brought 3 things.
I brought 3 things.
That's funny because I bought 4. Hey, by the
Um,
way, so I'm gonna interrupt you real quick.
I'm not done.
You did not send me a picture, correct, of wine? Is that right?
I don't know.
I don't
don't
think
know.
that you did. Okay, so I got this random message sent to me. I got to see if I can find it. This person sends me this picture, and here's the picture. I want to see if you can see it. Now, mind you, knowing you are in France
Mhm.
doing this, not knowing if you're using a WhatsApp or somebody else's number or whatever, I get this picture sent to me in a text.
Can you read the brand of wine to me?
It is Chateau Lafite Rothschild. That's really all I can see. Now, so I'm thinking right away, well, Katy has sent me this picture.
I feel like I would have sent.
So here's what it amounts to. Thinking it's you, I say, nice. You said, not you. This person, whoever it was, said, Anna, did you receive the wine I sent you? And it said, I'm Linda. So I respond back, like, hell no, you must have the wrong address. Resend it.
Did you really?
Yeah. So then they respond back, sorry, I think I saved the wrong number. I hope it didn't bother you. I'm like, well, I'm bothered that I'm not getting the damn wine. That's what I'm bothered by.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That's crazy.
Yeah. It was. I really thought it was you. I thought, and it totally made sense. What are the odds?
Yeah, that
that
is
someone
crazy.
would send me a picture holding a French wine.
Yeah.
You're in France,
right?
And I get that. It makes no sense to me. Still doesn't make any sense.
Huh? Do you want me to
got the wine I sent you, right? So come on.
Am I allowed to carry on with my trip, or should I just stop because it's a tiny show? Where are
Well,
we?
should we save it and do part 2?
No, because I'm almost done.
Oh, okay. Then by all means.
So, then the last part to round out our adventures, we went to this place called Lake Annecy, which was 100% my favorite place that we visited. I could have spent an entire week at that place.
And this is where?
This is on the France-Swiss. It's right on the border of Switzerland and France.
Gotcha.
It's in France. I mean, just the cutest place I've ever seen. The cutest place right on the water. The houses are incredible. It was super cute. I could have spent all week there, but
you took pictures, I'm assuming. Yes,
I did. Yeah.
Okay,
And
so
then,
hopefully I can put some of them in here.
And then we went back to Marceau. I went to bed at 9, and then I had my big adventure the next morning by myself, which actually went really well. The only hiccup I had, I got up at 3. I left the house at 3:45. I drove the car to Dijon and to the train station, which I did a great job. Parked it. Awesome. I couldn't find where to put the key in the lockbox for Enterprise because I was there before hours. And I was at the train station at like almost 5 o'clock, a little before 5. There's not a lot of people there at the train station. So I go up to this one man and I ask him, hey, parlez-vous anglais? And he's kind of making these weird noises. I'm like, English, parlez-vous anglais? Help. And I don't know how to explain it. He starts kind of saying things and making sounds that don't sound right. And another gentleman really attractive gentleman, overhears this exchange and he says, I speak English. He's a little crazy. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, then you probably were like, well, excuse me while I speak with him.
He actually speaks my language.
Yeah, right?
He speaks
Finally, someone I can talk to.
someone who understands me. So I don't know exactly what was going on with this guy, but then after that, he kept following me around the train station. And so I kept moving from like one.
Probably
place
thought
to
you were
another.
offering him a lap dance.
It was, and my French sucks. So I said parlez-vous français, but I probably said, do you want to go to bed or something like that?
Yeah, right.
So that was the only hiccup I had. But then I got the train. I got to the other train station. I got a cab, got to the airport. The traffic was horrendous. So I did start to panic a little bit because I did not have a lot of time. I think I had about an hour. By the time I got through TSA, I had less than an hour. So it was a good thing I did not check a bag because I don't know how long that would have taken. And then it was a direct flight and I got home. I mean, everything. And these people that I went with, this is a huge deal. If anyone's like traveled abroad or to anywhere, you have to travel with the right people.
Oh,
you
yeah,
have
I'm sure.
to.
No doubt.
And these people were, Sydney, I knew I'd be great with because she's a good friend. These two guys were so laid back. They were up for anything. They had great personalities. They weren't grumpy. They didn't get frustrated. I mean, we all traveled very, very well together.
Yeah.
We all took turns paying. We Venmo'd each other. It was all very fair at the end of the day. It was, nobody complained about, oh, I didn't want to go to this restaurant or I want to do this. I mean, it was the most incredible group of people that I could have possibly traveled with. And so we're already planning our next trip next year. And then I'm going to Germany in 6 weeks. So I have to start planning that trip because I have not prepared anything for that trip.
If I don't get a T-shirt,
I will get you one
Germany.
from Germany. I'm checking a bag for Germany because I'm going to
look,
8 days.
I'm questioning our friendship now because you've never gone away and not brought me a T-shirt.
Yeah, well, there have been some things that happened on your end, and I won't go into detail that have made me question our friendship. So let's call it even, shall we?
What are you talking about? I've never promised you a shirt and not brought one.
I mean, other things have happened, where like you ghosted me, not for a couple days, but like a couple years, those types of things. Yeah, so we'll just call it even. But when I go to Germany, which will be at the beginning of April, I will get you I'll get you multiple shirts.
Okay. So, so next week I'll share with you my two stories that don't have a time limit on them. One is about something that I finally finished that I built, and the other is about being backstage with Carrie Underwood.
Did I really just talk for half an hour? Is that over?
You sure did. Yeah, you did.
You
really did.
I sure did. And I didn't even go into like any big stories. So
no, I think it's great. I love it. I love hearing about your adventures. I live vicariously through them because I don't have the desire to do that. I'm glad you do and have the the means and the friends and all that to do. So I'm really happy for you. Glad you're back safe.
Thank you. I'd give it a 10 out of 10. And my self-esteem is super high after I did all those things. I was so afraid. Like I had my French, cards ready to go.
Yep.
And when I got on the plane or when I got home, I really wanted to text my therapist. I really wanted to text her and say, I did it. But I was like, that might be a little like crossing the line. I'm not sure, but
yeah, I'm fine. It's all good. We're good.
Yeah.
Inky dinky parlez-vous, whatever. Didn't even use them. I mean, I used them like as bookmarks.
That's it. Yeah. Didn't even,
no worries.
I'm so good now. But anyway, so yeah, we'll talk again next week. I'm sorry I ran my mouth for half an hour, but if anybody has traveled to France or is traveling to France, I definitely recommend to stop to Annecy. 100%. That was my favorite. Super cute.
So that gets Katy's seal of approval as far as the trip to France goes. And we will talk to you in a week. More Tiny and Katy show on the way. We love you. Have a good one. Boom.
Are you okay with that?
I'm perfectly fine with that. Why wouldn't you talk about it? It's one of the big... You're just now breaking out the wine? What the hell?